Hey there, Internet. Welcome to the Hard On Gear channel, where I discuss and review my used and abused knives and gear. Hard On Gear channel here to talk to you today about the 3 knives that I will be purchasing in 2023, come hell or high water. 2022, I had a list at the beginning of the year that I put together. However, I joined the military, went through my initial training, got hurt, ended up having to reposition my kind of career plans and all that stuff, landed myself back in the wildfire world. All that to say that I will be a little bit less broke this coming year as I start to be able to make some actual money again than I was last year as an untrained private in the Army. You'll see the knives on this list are pretty similar to what have been on my previous kind of wish lists and knives that I plan to purchase lists. You can check those videos out. In fact, there's a whole playlist somewheres in the Hog playlist if you go to the Hog channel. So you see a few sets of knives here. This is going to be a little bit of a segue, each of these into one of my 3 choices that I'm going to be discussing. So first off, the knife that I think is going to be the very first one that I purchase once I have the money is going to be a little bit bigger than my typical purchases, and that's going to be something closer to this chopping size. That knife is going to be the ESEE Hungless 2. Now, one of my new coworkers has a Hungless that I'm going to try out, swing that around a little bit, but I believe it's going to be a little bit too large because I want to be able to throw it on my utility belt for work, as well as just to be able to toss it on my belt for any kind of camp tasks and whatnot. I feel like it is going to be that perfect in-between length of a machete and a large camp knife. Oh, and hey there, viewers of the Hog channel. If you wouldn't mind, if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and click the like button as it helps the channel out and gets this video out to more knife enthusiasts. So the CRKT Chance in Hell, I'll put a full video out on this soon discussing the handle issues I had and how I'm going to have to wrap some paracord around this tang to get that tightened up around there again. But it was awesome having a huge chopper like this in the field. Although this was not built for batoning, it was not built for hardcore like camp use, from what I can tell anyways, at least from what I put it through. Axes, tomahawks, hatchets, they're all great, but a little bit more awkward to carry on your person, at least I've found, and I've had a little bit of issues with this sheath in particular. But the ESEE Izula 2 in the sheath has been amazing, but it's a little too small, so I'm seriously considering purchasing an ESEE 4, maybe even a 5 or a 6, but an ESEE 4 I think is going to be like an ideal EDC fixed blade for me. That's going to cover all my bases and will be big enough to do survival and camp tasks, but still small enough to carry on my hip. But yeah, the Hungless 2 is about the size of my large heavy bowie from Ka-Bar. That's currently on my work belt for fire, although it's not a full tang knife, and I'd like something a little more solid that I can really trust if I wanted to put it through some abuse, and that was the only knife or the only big knife I had on me. It's going to be something around 14.5 inches, I believe, so something maybe a little bit shorter. There's 12 inches, so yeah, about 2 inches shorter than this, and I think that's going to be as big as I would want to carry on my hip, but still plenty big enough to do all kinds of awesome stuff, as well as a decent little bear knife or a wildlife defense knife if it ever came down to it. Nice to have something with a decent amount of penetration if you're going against some big critters with all kinds of like hair and fat and all that. Yeah, that's worst case scenario, but you definitely, especially in the situations we were in the woods where we have food, and I've had some interesting bear situations, so it's not even a crazy thing to talk about. I definitely want something on me. But yeah, ESEE's lifetime warranty. If I do end up breaking that or like doing something ridiculous with it, bashing it off a rock, I can just send it back to them. They'll send me a brand new one, no questions asked. ESEE Hungless 2. Probably the first knife you will see me purchase in over freaking, 8-9 months probably, damn near almost a year. The second knife on this list is a folding knife, as you might have guessed from these 3 folders here, and these are 3 of my lightest and most carried folders, which is funny because for a long time I was really into big heavy-duty folders and really thought this was much more the direction that I'd end up going as this channel developed. What I have found is that since I'm carrying these big sturdy fixed blades, I don't really have as much of a purpose for a bulletproof cold steel type of folding knife. Not to say they're not awesome, but I just keep finding myself gravitating towards these super light little Spydercos. The Benchmade 940-2 I did carry quite a bit, although it was a little too small. What I'm going to be grabbing as my next folder, although the Benchmade Adamas is high up on the list, Spyderco Yojimbo or Yojumbo, I've still got plenty of folders I want to buy. But realistically and rationally, the next one on my list is the Benchmade Bug Out. Probably a huge freaking shocker to folks who've listened to this channel and watched this channel for a long time. I've never really had interest in the Bug Out, but one of my master corporals, one of my staff who taught my infantry training, had a Benchmade Bug Out that he was using for all kinds of really bad non-knife tasks. Like, you know, I'm not going to say what he was doing with his knife and machine guns, but like, let's say certain tools aren't available and you just use knives for certain things. Once I got my hands on it and I got to kind of feel around and understand how well it fits in your hand for such a small knife. And I've got a large hand on the cusp of like a bigger end of a medium. Maybe if you have super large hands, it won't be as comfortable, but I think it's probably maybe a little smaller. Yeah, definitely smaller in the hand than the Paramilitary 2. A little bit bigger than the Delica, so probably right in between the size of those two knives. And I'm pretty sure once I get that bug out, I'm going to be carrying it a lot more than I ever would have expected. Mostly because I've got the bigger, tougher knives if I want to do some of that rougher, tougher work. And I won't need to put my bug out, which will probably be an S30V bug out, but I won't need to put it through that type of abuse. I don't really find myself wanting to carry huge bricks like this in my pocket as much anymore. I carried the 8015 last week for Knife of the Week. I'm going to carry the SR1 Lite this coming week for Knife of the Week, just to really give it another shot, because I haven't been carrying these a lot, but the big knife stuff's kind of wearing off on me as far as folders go anyways. The small, light stuff is really where I'm finding myself kind of reaching in my drawer a lot more of the time now, and when I'm going to pick my knife for the week. Spyderco Manix 2, extremely light, half the weight almost of the Manix 2 original. Haven't really even touched the Manix 2 since then. We're definitely digging the lightweight stuff, and the bug out from Benchmade is kind of the king of the lightweights. Moving on to the third knife I'm definitely picking up in 2023, one that I've had my eye on since this company was almost like first created, and that is the Speedgoat from Montana Knife Company. And if you guys do not know about Montana Knife Company, I highly advise you to check out anything that they've put out. They've got all kinds of amazing products. Their stock is starting to get better. They've only been around for maybe 2.5 years, something around that. I believe I first came across him through Andy Stump's podcast. He's been on there at least a couple of times. Josh Smith, that is the founder of Montana Knife Company, and I think the youngest master blacksmith rather in American history. Incredibly good person, good family, good company, good morals, and good that whole like American made foundational thing they've got behind their company, much like Origin USA and a bunch of these companies that are trying to bring back that manufacturing to America and stop the reliance on foreign overseas countries whose agendas may or may not align with North America's. But Montana Knife Company is mixing the traditional and modern knives in a way that a lot of companies I don't think have been able to pull it off, and I haven't really found anything better than the Essees or this Tops Mulspy Elite, for example. Something that's EDC friendly, not too big, but super tough, although there is a little bit of a fine point between having something that's super tough and durable and having it actually be able to slice well when you need it to. Now, I've got pretty good edges put on these. The factory edges may not have been the sliciest, but if you play around with it and you want to thin it down a little bit, you can still have a sturdy knife that cuts really well. Something like this Grohmann #1 design, extremely slicey, but less durable, and I'm a little bit more concerned about maybe doing a tough sort of twisty, bendy work with this knife. Not that you should, not that I would recommend you doing that, but it's certainly something that I find myself doing when I have a knife in my hands and I've got to get a certain task done. You don't always put it away and reach for your multi-tool like you should. The Bow River I'm going to carry on me this week for Knife of the Week. I've never carried this on me for any length of time, so we're going to give it a good honest chance. Again, same thing. Traditional, awesome. Leather sheath, could give a damn for it. I'm actually finding this to be a huge pain in the ass, and I haven't even put it on my hip yet. So this Montana Knife Company Speedgoat is a kind of like a Skinner Hunter EDC combination that comes with the Kydex sheath. It's extremely thin, extremely light, and if you see some of the tests that Josh Smith does, they're incredibly well built. 52-100 ball bearing steel, which is not something I would have expected a new company like that with a master bladesmith to have run. You'd think like 1095 or 3V or some kind of popular bushcraft steel, or some of the S35VN stuff coming out these days. Now they do have MagnaCut. They are messing around with different blade steels, but that 52-100, the stuff that I've been seeing as far as the quality from all their different knives they put out, unreal steel. And when it's heat treated and put together the way that Josh and his crew at Montana Knife Company are putting it together, yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on it. That Speedgoat has been impossible to get for the last couple years. Most of their products, the second they have a drop, whether it's 500 or 2,000 knives, they're almost gone within like 2 minutes. So I've tried a couple of times, and you know, that whole like crashing when you're trying to buy a concert ticket, just had a nightmare of a time trying to buy those knives. But that's awesome, great for the company, great to see them expanding. As of like last month, like March or April 2023, I believe they're supposed to have the speed goats in stock full time now. They've got a huge supply of them, and they tried to do it before with a couple of knives. They're only now getting to the point where they can get enough stock to supply the incredible demand for what's going to be one of the biggest knife companies in the world within a few years. I can almost guarantee you. Their product's unbelievable, and the support they're getting from the knife community, they're going to be shooting to the top very soon. So those are 3 knives that I can almost freaking guarantee you I will be purchasing in 2023. For the last year and a half, I haven't had a lot of new knives, so I've really been rotating through the stuff that I had accumulated through the first year or so of the channel, and really getting a better sense of what I need in a knife, and even more importantly, figuring out what is unnecessary and just not worth my money. I've certainly learned a lot about what I can do with small knives, but then my little camping experiences the last couple months have taught me small knives have their limitations, and if you have to procure firewood or do any major camp tasks, you can be good enough to make a small knife work, but a decent freaking fixed blade with a little bit of weight behind it can make all the difference. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Like this video if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you want to get more hog videos into your notifications. There's probably a few Hard On Gear videos popping up. Check for the yellow thumbnails on the right side of your screen, or scroll down below and I'm sure you'll come across something. Or check out the Hard On Gear channel and look through the different playlists and the different videos that I've got on that. Catch you later. This is the Hard On Gear channel, signing off.